Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. Georgia has a very important governor's race going on right now, and you have two very different candidates running in it. So you have Stacey Abrams, who is a great progressive candidate. I believe she's the first African-American woman nominee for the governorship of Georgia in history. She is running against Brian Kemp. That is Georgia's Secretary of State. Now, if you're not familiar with this, the Secretary of State of the states is different than of the country. The country, they deal with a lot of things. A lot of it is foreign policy. In the states, though, a lot of it is election laws, including voting laws. Who gets to vote, how they get to vote. And that's Brian Kemp, who does that, is now running an election, getting to set the rules for the election, and already it is clear that he is doing it in a way designed to make it more likely that he actually wins. So right now, more than 53,000 voter registration applications are on hold in Georgia with just 1 month to go before the midterm election. More than 70% of those that are currently on hold are of African American voters, or I guess potential voters, because they might not actually get to vote thanks to the effect of Brian Kemp. So 70% on hold are African American. Georgia's population is 32% black. So you are far, far more likely than you should be based purely on the numbers to have your registration on hold right now. Thankfully, Stacey Abrams is doing a good job of helping to generate news coverage of the fact that this is obvious voter suppression going on in Georgia right now. She was in August, she was on The Daily Show with Trevor Noah, and she called Kemp a remarkable architect of voter suppression. And by the way, this is what he's doing right now, but if you look back, Google voter suppression and Brian Kemp, this is something he has been doing for some time. And it actually is just the latest in a long tradition of secretaries of state of Georgia doing this. Karen Handel previously had done the exact same sort of thing, both suppressing voter registration applications, committing voter purges and things like that. This is like their MO in Georgia, and they're gonna continue to do that. By the way, 53,000 votes. You might think, okay, in a governor's race, that's a statewide race. Are we being a little bit petty in concerning ourselves with 53,000 votes? I think that that's an absurd thing to say, but I understand that some people might think it. Well, understand that every vote is going to count. Now, Kemp says that less than 1% of applications failed verification and were held up. And look, in a race that is going to be decided by a bunch of points, 1% of the voter registration applications might not matter. But as of right now, the race between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp is considered a toss-up according to a collection of many polls being done by Real Clear Politics. So as of right now, 1% could well be the deciding factor. There have been a number of races in the primaries so far that's far closer than 1%. And when it comes to the governorship of an important state like Georgia, it is incredibly vital that everyone that wants to run actually gets to run. Now, right now, many people are getting involved to put pressure on Brian Kemp and the Republicans in Georgia to do something about this. The ACLU is doing a good job. They have been on the case of Georgia for some time, actually. Back in August, they accused one of the state's counties of trying to make it harder for African Americans to vote when the Randolph County Elections Board closed 7 of its 9 polling locations. That's a story that we covered at the time. And thankfully, with the pressure that the ACLU and other organizations and individuals put on them, they largely reversed that. But that does not mean that we are allowed to let down our guard. After the Supreme Court struck down key provisions of the Voting Rights Act a few years ago, it has been incredibly popular in southern states to do everything they can to wipe out people's ability to vote. And in races like this, especially historic races, like with Stacey Abrams potentially becoming the first female African American governor, it is incredibly important. So continue to put pressure on them. Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.